My name is Roger Hallowell, and I'm an affiliated professor here at HEC. I've been working with the school for about 15 years in a number of different capacities, but service is my great love. So this is actually one of the favorite things that I do. The service major consists of 2 weeks, like the other majors. And like the other majors, we're in 2 different locations. You may well be wondering what those locations are and why we've chosen them. The first location is Orlando, Florida. Now, when I think of Orlando, Florida, I think of La Culture Mickey Mouse. And in fact, that is what Orlando, Florida is all about. Orlando, Florida is a very large U.S. city that is entirely based, its economy is entirely based on tourism. And in fact, Disney is the core of that tourism. A trip to Orlando is a fascinating experience because Orlando is a place that is made or broken based on the service that is delivered to the guests while they are there. So this is a place where service really matters. And while we're in Orlando, we will take advantage of that by actually spending a fair amount of time out in the real world experiencing service, but also experiencing it, thinking about it in a critical way, using some frameworks to examine what's good and what's bad about it, and having some company visits that will help to illuminate some of these frameworks. We'll spend an entire day at Disney. Do not, however, think that this will be a fun ride in a theme park. You will have some fun rides in the theme park, I hope, but you will also be being very critical. We're going to give you some very, very specific, thoughtfully designed frameworks in order to examine how good a job is Disney doing. Are they meeting your expectations? Are they exceeding your expectations? Have they set your expectations appropriately? Why are things good or why are things bad? Inevitably, in any service encounter, even at the best organizations, things don't always go right. The question is, how does the organization handle it when that happens? So in Orlando, we'll start off by looking at what is referred to as the economics of customer loyalty and the economics of employee loyalty. Why is that? We know that the strongest driver of profitability and growth for services is customer loyalty. Now, how do you define customer loyalty? Customer loyalty is 3 things. It is customers who remain customers, customers who are willing to be cross-sold additional goods or services, and customers who engage in word-of-mouth referral about your service. Now, is this the only driver of profitability and growth for services? No, it's not, but it is the single most important one. It's also the most important driver of profitability and growth for organizations that are goods producing, but that depend on services that are attached to their goods for their differentiation. This is sometimes referred to as solutions these days in more sophisticated parts of the economy. So if you are a person who is interested in learning how to differentiate the quality of what you deliver based on service, you could be coming from a goods producing company, you could be coming from a service organization, you could be coming from a professional service organization, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. You could be coming from a governmental agency, you could be coming from a not-for-profit entity. This major will be relevant for you because really what it's all about is talking about how organizations can differentiate the service that they deliver. The economics of employee loyalty are equally important to the economics of customer loyalty because we can't get customers to be loyal unless they are very satisfied with the experience that they have with us, and that takes employees. And what we know is that employees who have the appropriate tools and who are motivated appropriately do a much better job. That may sound incredibly obvious to you, but the vast majority of organizations don't do a very good job at equipping their people and making sure that they are appropriately motivated. So we're going to spend a lot of time working on both the economics of customer loyalty and the economics of employee loyalty during that first week. We'll also have, as I said before, the day at Disney, and we also have something that is called the Experiential Dinner Exercise. We're going to send you out to 2 restaurants that you'll be able to choose. You'll be put into a team. It'll be a multicultural, multi-campus team of people. and you will choose 2 restaurants. You'll be given a budget which will be large enough to enable you to go to one quite nice restaurant. If you're getting Michelin stars in your eyes, I'm afraid I will have to disappoint you, but you'll be able to go to one quite nice restaurant and then one more modest restaurant. And we'll be asking you to compare the value propositions that you get from the 2 and to understand why you received the particular value that you did from the 2 restaurants. This is something that's been enormously popular in the past, and people have a tremendous amount of learning from it. It's also a lot of fun because at the end of the week everybody makes presentations on their experiences, and there's a fair amount of camaraderie and a little bit of competition among the teams, and it works out very nicely. Something that bridges both of the weeks, so the first week will be in Orlando, Florida, the second week will be in Singapore, is a discussion of professional services. Now, by professional services, I mean firms such as banks, auditing firms, law firms, anything where the individuals tend to have quite advanced types of skills that they are providing. Everyone who graduates from HEC will either work at some point in their life for a professional service firm or will use the services of a professional service firm. And therefore, understanding what makes professional service firms work is reasonable and a good thing to do, even if you have no interest in working for a professional service firm. We'll spend several days on professional service firms because a lot of the best practices coming from professional service firms also apply more broadly in the service sector. So you may be asking yourself, why Singapore? Why go all that way? Singapore is a fascinating place. It is a city-state of just over 5 million people. It has been incredibly successful as an economy, and we are going there for a couple of reasons. One, we want to study best practices in governmental services, and Singapore is known for having one of the most progressive governments, at least in some ways, on the face of the earth. The quality of the services that they deliver for their citizens and the efficiency with which they deliver them are quite extraordinary. So we're going to be looking at that, and we will be visiting some governmental agencies. In fact, I've written case studies on some governmental agencies in Singapore, so we have good connections there. We're also going to be going and benchmarking Singapore Airlines. Singapore Airlines is considered by just about everyone who flies a lot to be one of, if not the best airline on the face of the earth today, at least for long-haul travel. How do they do it? What makes them different? How are they able to operate in a very, very difficult industry? The major airlines, now I'm not talking about the discount carriers, I'm talking about the traditional flag carriers. The major airlines have lost more money in the last 10 years than they made in the previous 80. This is an unattractive industry by any stretch of the imagination, and yet there are a few companies, Singapore Airlines being one of them, that are consistently profitable. What makes them different? Well, I can tell you it starts with their people. It starts with the way they select their people, and it goes on into the training of their people, to the empowerment, appropriate empowerment that their people receive, and the tools that their people are given. And we will actually visit Singapore Airlines headquarters and visit their training facility and hear what it is that they're doing that makes them different and enables them to be so successful. We also will go to Singapore in order to experience Southeast Asian service, which is frankly different from service in other parts of the world. And it's important to understand that service is delivered differently in different areas. Singapore is also interesting because it's an incredibly broad array of customers who are receiving services in Singapore. It's everything from Western Europeans who are coming for business reasons to wealthy Chinese who are coming because they want to gamble. You have to serve these people in different ways, and it's up to the service organizations to train their people to be sensitive enough to see what is it that this customer is looking for, what is it that this customer is trying to achieve, and how can I help them to achieve it. So Singapore should be a fascinating experience for us. I think Orlando will also be a fascinating experience. What are the downsides of the service major? Jet lag. You will have 6 hours of jet lag whether we go to Singapore or whether we go to Orlando. If you really hate being jet lagged, this is not the right major for you. how else would I be selecting this major? What other criteria would I use? You need to want to be actively involved in the learning process if you want to get a lot out of this major. This is not a major where you can sort of sit back and expect to be entertained for a week. Now, by that, do I mean that you have to spend every moment working incredibly hard? No, you don't. But if your goal in a major is to go someplace where you can relax and be amused, this is not for you, because we have a lot of projects, there's a lot of action-based learning that occurs, and you won't be happy. I guess the most important thing is you have to care about being able to differentiate your organization through the service that you deliver. Whether that service is a pure service or it's service that is attached to a manufactured product, whether it's a governmental service or even a not-for-profit service. But if that matters to you, then the service major could well make sense. I would like to make myself available to you if you have additional questions, if you want to discuss things. My email is very simple. It's my last name, which is Hallowell, Hallowell, @hec.fr. If you send me an email, I will respond. If you want to have an in-depth conversation about this, I will probably suggest a time for us to set up a Skype call, because email can be kind of inefficient for that. But I will do everything I can to make myself available to you, because this is an important decision, and 2 weeks of your academic career is a lot, and you need to make the right choice. And frankly, I would like to help those of you for whom the service major is not right to understand why it isn't right for you, and I would like to help those of you for whom the service major might be right to see what you could get out of it. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and again, I appreciate your time.